Let's have a conversation.
What's up, y'all? Happy Sunday. I just wanted to give everybody a quick recap of my Raptors versus Knicks experience. Now, for those of you who don't know, which is probably all of you, since the time I have been here in New York, I think every single year, with the exception of the pandemic year where we had the lockdown and the games moved to Orlando, I believe it was. I've gone to a Raptors game against either the Nets or the Knicks. I usually choose the Nets because before they got Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, I used to be able to get dirt cheap Nets tickets. As a matter of fact, maybe the first 2 or 3 years that I started going to Raptors versus Nets, the tickets were like $8. Granted, they were not close tickets, but they were $8. So at the time when I wasn't making that much money, or at times when I wasn't working, it was cool to be able to get an $8 ticket and be in the building and see the game. And I think the first 4 to 5 Nets versus Raptors games that I watched live, they won every single game. The Nets were bad back then. I've seen much less Knicks versus Raptors games. I've seen the Knicks versus other teams. My dad took me to a few Knicks games. I remember actually my dad took me to either the first or the second game that Carmelo Anthony joined the Knicks, and they were playing against the Utah Jazz. And New York was hype to get Carmelo Anthony. New York was so hyped to get Carmelo Anthony, and the building was so loud. Joe Frazier, other celebrities were in the building. Like, it was just a really cool experience, and I think the Knicks won that game. In terms of, I've probably seen at least 10 or more combined games of Raptors specifically versus Nets, or Raptors versus Knicks total. And I would say 70 to 80% of the games that I've gone to, they've won. But there's been quite a few of them that have been very close, and this is one of them. Before I even get into the game itself, the last live basketball game that I ever watched was Toronto Raptors versus Philadelphia 76ers, game 1. It took place, I think, April of 2022 in the Wells Fargo Center. So for those who don't know anything about the Wells Fargo Center, it is just the basketball arena in Philadelphia. And I said to myself, if I've gone to Madison Square Garden so many times, and New Yorkers are ruthless in general, and I go there decked out in my Raptors gear, and nothing wild has ever happened to me in there, what difference is it going to make wearing my Raptors jersey in Philly? I learned that day, big difference. Big difference. I remember from the moment I stepped out of the car, some guy was like, "Oh my God, you are not wearing a mother effing Siakam jersey right now. Like, I should rip that jersey off." And I'm like, that's all in good fun. Haha. Then I get inside. I go to the bathroom. Some Philly guys in the bathroom are like, I feel like jumping a Raptors fan and taking off their Siakam jersey tonight. So I'm like, okay, this is the second person who has talked about taking off my jersey and fighting me. And that was a common theme throughout the night, to the point where I started to feel anxious and on edge of the game, which I've never felt for any other reason aside from the game being a close game and the score being close. And I'm somebody who has not lived in Toronto area since like I don't even know 2003, 2004 maybe. 2004 was the last time I was in that area, and that's almost 20 years ago. So since then, every Toronto Raptors game that I've been to has been a road game. I've been in what was called the Fleet Center in Boston. I've been in Madison Square Garden, been in the Barclays Center. I've been in a few different arenas. Never had the experience that I had in Philly, and it left such a sour taste in my mouth. So even though I had never had the same type of experience in Madison Square Garden, I said to myself, maybe now that they have better players, they have a little better record, they have a team that's expected to at least make the playoffs, the fans are going to be a little more ruthless. So I came into the stadium prepared for that. And when I got in there, I'll tell you something. New York fans are kind of fair weather, gotta say. I'm especially Knicks and Nets fans. Well, Nets fans, I'll give you a pass because the Nets were not always located in Brooklyn. They used to be in New Jersey. So they have never really picked up a fan base like that since moving to Brooklyn. Like I remember going to these Brooklyn games and looking all around the arena and feeling like I was at a home game. There was this one particular game. The whole crowd had on red Raptors jerseys, and the Canadian national anthem came on, and I was like, more than half of the stadium knows the words. This is crazy. This is wild, right? And at Knicks games, it wasn't quite as bad as Brooklyn games because they did have some faithful, but there was a lot of like remember walking into a Knicks game, I had on my Damon Stoudemire jersey, and you have to be a diehard to know who Damon Stoudemire is, and a lot of people were like, "Yo, you got that classic Damon Stoudemire champion jersey. That's what's up." I got more compliments than insults about being in Madison Square Garden with my Raptors jersey. So I came in here, at least in terms of what I heard, nobody even said anything bad about my jersey. The only thing I got were compliments from the few Raptors fans that I saw. What I can say about New York now is that now that they have some pretty good players, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, Brunson that they just got, Robinson, Mitchell Robinson. They have like some pretty good players now. So when I went in the arena, the Knicks fans were back because they're there when the teams are decent. They leave when the teams are bad, but they're there when the teams are decent. So there was a lot of Knicks jerseys and very few Raptors jerseys and very few Raptors fans in the building. Hey, Dolly. So I was very leery of that. I was like, I hope that I don't have the same type of experience that I had in Philadelphia last April, but I didn't. Barely anyone was even, I mean, people were kind of talking trash at me, but not to me. Nobody threatened me. Nobody said, I want to beat you up. Nobody was like, I'm going to take that jersey off or I'm going to take that hat off your head or anything like that. It was just like, for instance, the person in front of me was like, when something would happen and the Raptors scored and I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh, there's a Raptors fan behind me and he's screaming loudly for the other team. I'm like, okay. Like they gave me some side shade, but they never said anything really crazy to me. The game was great, but the game was especially great because Toronto won. The game went to overtime. We were up, and the Knicks tied it. Well, the Knicks were up first. Then we went ahead. They tied us. It was like back and forth, up and down. We tied at the end of regulation. We did an overtime period, and Brunson, I think it was Brunson, he missed a game-winning 3 at the buzzer in overtime. So we ended up taking the game. Most of the arena was unhappy. I was happy. A funny thing that happened was the fact that this has happened at almost every Madison Square Garden game that I have ever attended. If the other team starts to go up 5, 6, 7, 8 points with a couple of minutes left, everyone starts leaving for the exits. And I understand that a lot of these people want to catch the train. I had a train to catch too. But that's not me. When I used to go to games, when I used to live in the Toronto area and I used to watch games at their arena, even if the other team came in and smoked us, I would sit in the game and watch the game until the very end. Like I remember going to some games with my dad when I was a kid, and he would be like, if the Raptors were down big, he'd be like, "Are you ready to go?" I'm like, "No. I want to sit here and watch this game all the way to the end. I don't leave early." So the Knicks were down by like 6 with like a minute and something to go. And then afterwards, all the Knicks fans started heading to the exits. And then the Knicks went on a little mini run. And then it was funny because people were standing by the exit doors because they heard the cheering, looking down at the arena. And I'm like, the game wasn't over when you were down 6. But these Knicks fans are so quick to turn on their team. And I know I have New Yorkers that follow me. I'm telling the truth here. I'm somebody who's been here 11 years now. And 10 out of those 11 years, I've gone to see like Knicks games. And this always happens. They'll be like, "Yeah, Knicks. Yeah." Then as soon as it looks like they're going to lose, they're out of there. And they're like cursing out the team on top of that. They just aren't real fans. I agree that a lot of them are fair weather fans. Don't get me wrong. I do know some like diehard Knicks fans for real that I respect, but I know a lot that are more fair weather. Thank you. I actually ordered this from the NBA store and so I ordered a different hoodie than this from the NBA store, and the size they gave me couldn't fit basically, and then I was just gonna return it and get my money back. And the size that did fit was $37 more than the hoodie that I was originally trying to get. I didn't want to do that, so I wanted to get a refund, but the NBA store has a special policy that to take a product back, you have to pay $9.99. So I was like, instead of just giving them $9.99 and getting no product, I'll just take the store credit and get the thing that costs similar to the original item that I was trying to get, which was actually one of those OVO hoodies that's like all black and then says Toronto in gold and has like, the owl on the side, the Drake OVO owl. That's what I originally wanted to get. So even though this is not that, and I don't like this as much as I would have liked that, I still like it though. It's cool. I kept it. Some expensive seats. Yeah. The seats are expensive. And because of the seats being expensive, that's especially why I wouldn't leave before the game's done. If I have to pay a lot for a ticket, even that Philadelphia game, which was the worst in terms of like my team getting smoked, that was the worst game I ever attended in my life. Game 1, Sixers versus Raptors. Even that game, where the fans were talking crazy to me all game, the game wasn't even close. I sat there, beginning to end. I did not leave until the game was done. I was like, I drove all the way up to Philadelphia to see these guys. They're my team, win or lose. And I'm going to wait until this game actually finishes before I leave. $33 for a hot dog. I ended up getting, I got sweet potato fries and I got a turkey burger. And I think that was like $25, which was also overpriced, but it wasn't that bad. It was somewhat economic compared to what they charge for other things. Oh, you went to Vancouver Grizzlies games? Interesting. If you're talking about Vancouver Grizzlies. I used to go in Vancouver with my dad, go to Costco and buy. Yeah, I used to do that too. Check my message later. Where did you send the message, Dolly? On Instagram, Facebook? Let me know. Let me know so I can know where to check, because that's the issue right now. Okay, I see it. I see it, Dolly. Yeah, that's a smart idea. That's a smart idea, Van Hoop. That is a smart idea. I have actually tried to do that before, or I've done it before. One time I actually, well, when I went to the Barclays Center, I bought food before I went in the Barclays Center because the Barclays Center has a plaza that is right next to the arena before you get in the arena, so you can actually buy stuff and eat it in there. And I think I did not I think I did do that one time, but then when I got in to the arena, at some point I got hungry again and I bought food, not as much as I would have bought before, but still I was mad at myself for the fact that I didn't have enough discipline. I didn't have enough discipline not to buy more food after I had bought the food originally. But yeah, the game was good. The game was obviously sweeter because we won. I would I would have been devastated if we had not won. And it's annoying. I'll say something. I've gotten used to being at an opposing team's arena. I have. Because it's been, I think the last time I ever went to a Raptors game in Toronto was like, I can't even remember the year anymore. If I'm going to guess, I might say around '08 or '09. I just know the year that it was like the year that I watched the Raptors versus the Sixers in what was then called the Air Canada Center, and the team had Allen Iverson and Elton Brand. That was the two main players on that team. And I can't remember whether we won or lost. I think we won. But that was the last time I saw a home game where like I at my home team that I like, the whole arena is rooting for that team. I went to a Nets game like maybe 3 years ago where there was so many Raptors fans in the Nets arena that it felt like a home game. It was before Kyrie and Kevin Durant, when they used to have guys like Quincy AC, like just people that weren't really stars and weren't really names and weren't really known, and all these people were coming from Toronto to the Barclays Center because they were saying that the tickets were way cheaper. They were saying it was cheaper for them to get a bus from Buffalo to New York. I mean, a bus from like I don't know, wherever they were coming from, Toronto. Let's say the bus from Toronto going to New York City, and then getting a hotel stay and then getting a ticket to the Barclays Center Raptors versus Nets versus getting a ticket for Scotiabank Arena. And I was like, really? It's that expensive over there? Because I have not been to Scotiabank Arena. I have been to Air Canada Center. So, dude, it's cheaper for us to Toronto to Detroit. That's crazy. Final tickets were like $50K. Yeah, so this was just a quick recap of my experience of the game tonight. It was fun. Nobody really said anything crazy to me tonight. We won in overtime. You know, I had a great time. There was a lot of angry Knicks fans at the end of the game. I was happy, obviously. I don't know if I'm going to go to another game this year. Possibly if we end up in a playoff situation against Brooklyn or the Knicks. It's possible that I will go to a game if I can afford it. If money was not an object, I would say I will definitely go to a game against New York, Brooklyn, possibly even Philadelphia, possibly, because I'm not like eager to go back over there, but I wouldn't rule it out of the equation. But I go to at least one game a year. It sucked in 2020 not to get to go to any game, but my streak is back on. I think from 2011 to 2023 now, I've missed 1 year, and that was because now we were located in Orlando. I had no choice when they had the bubble, when they had the NBA bubble. But every other year, when the NBA was operating as usual, I've gone for like 10 years out of 11. And some years, multiple games. And I typically have a good experience. We've won more often than we have not won. And I always rep my team no matter what. I'm not like a fan that is there when they're good and not there when they're not good. I can actually say I have been a fan of this team since their inception of 1995. I watched their terrible team with like Damon Stoudemire and Marcus Camby. Who do they have on that team? Oliver Miller, Zan Tabak. I know Van Hoot will know these names. I know a lot of people will be like, who the heck are these guys? Sean Marks, like I watched those teams. I watched when they got T-Mac and all these people, but that's my team. That's my squad. I'm glad we got a win. I had a really good time. I have 8 more days. 8 more days before I go back to work. So I'm like, I want to do as much as I can with the time that I have left. I have a few more things on the schedule. That's not to say that I'm not going to do any of these things when I get back, but obviously the time flexibility is not going to be there in the same way. So that's kind of why I keep referencing this. But yeah, that was my night, and this was just a quick recap. And I will definitely check you all again soon. Have a great night. If you have not yet, please like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell to get notified of when I drop some more great content. Thank you.